Hello and welcome to this video. In this video, I'm going to talk about day 3 in my logo design process. Now, in the previous two videos, I spoke about day 1 and 2. In day 1, I kicked off my design process with phase 1, where I looked at the design brief, I brought myself up to speed with the project, and then in day 2, I looked at brainstorming, planned my creative direction, and undertook some visual research, which brought me up to what I did today on day 3, which was my visual concept and design. If you haven't seen those videos where I came up and generated ideas and researched for the project, you can check those out in the description. But today I'm going to be demonstrating and showing you guys what I did today on day 3, where I put pen to paper and initiated my design thinking. So after I have undertaken phase 1, I will then jump into phase 2, and I'll only jump into phase 2 once I'm satisfied I have some key concepts. Now, in the last video, we saw that I generated 3 initial territories, some really cool ideas to base my logo design on. I always like to have strong ideas before I go into the next phase where I put pen to paper and start actually thinking about it. And in that video, I said that I only wanted to go and commit to just 1 concept territory. I'll keep 2 for backup, so should I need to come back to later. But on this particular project, I'm going to go all in on 1 initial concept territory, which was building space. So today I just explored and sketched loads of ideas to come up with what I thought would be a good creative solution for this concept territory. Now, the concept territory I'm going with is called building space. And this one is all about those who seek to further their education, come to RTS to build and develop their skills and knowledge, to gain qualifications, to build a better life. RTS offers a space to learn, grow and build. RTS helps build careers, futures and potentials for students. And in the last episode, I demonstrated some of my visual research where I looked into geometric shapes, and I looked into Swiss design and Bauhaus design to look at how geometric shapes can come together to form sort of constructivist compositions to form that narrative of building. And I really like that, and that is something I want to pursue here. So let's take a look at how I approach this. So first, I had some initial ideas which I had earlier on in the process, and I demonstrated these in the last video and in the first video. Now, I sometimes have ideas in the initial phase, and sometimes I use them and sometimes I don't, but I like to bring these back just so I can see whether they are still relevant and if I still want to develop them. So then I just started thinking about geometry and these geometric shapes and how they could come together. Now, on this project, the company I'm designing for is called Riverside Training Spalding, so quite a long name. So for this one, I want to narrow it down into a letter mark to make it really punchy. So first, I just really rough started thinking about how I was going to do this. So I quickly sketched out some shapes and geometric shapes to look at how this RTS could come together. And as I progressed, I started thinking about the words R, T and S and how various shapes could form these. And then I started to narrow it down into a particular style, which I quite liked. I was looking at how some really simple shapes could come together to form the 3 letters. And I pursued this a little further, and I realized that there was quite a few ways I could do this. I mean, we're looking at geometric shapes here, so there's so many different ways that you could do this. So I was just sketching out a few options just to explore this and see how they could come together. And I finally settled on a few approaches which I thought might be worth exploring. And then I looked at sort of various compositions, like could they be stacked? Would they sit next to each other horizontally? And then I had some ideas about how maybe there could be a bit of graphic language incorporated into part of it as like a part of a theme that could generate like textures and things like that, and how there could be additions to a logo comp. And then I looked at how maybe the letter forms could potentially be part of a larger sort of alphabet. So this was done really rough, and then once I had an idea on my approach, I actually settled on 4 different approaches. So once I was happy with all my rough sketches, I then sketched out what I call scamps, just neater versions of the logo design. So from my rough sketches, I put together some really clear logo designs, which you can see here, and I call these scamps. And these are just very simple but very clear drawings, which sometimes I can share with others. And these are the type of drawings that I would show to a client or anyone or someone on the team, and they're very clear, and you can just see, oh yes, that's what the logo is going to look like. You know, it's not a rough sketch, it's just a very clear drawing. So for this particular route, for this particular option, my geometric kind of logo, I was kind of liking how these shapes come together and how they looked a little bit unusual, and I kind of liked how it was looking, and this is the sort of thing I'd like to pursue going forward. Now, as well as putting together these clear drawings, I also like to do logo formulas. Now, logo formulas are really cool because when you show a logo to a client, the first time they see it, you know, you can't control what they're going to think of it. Now, you know, as a designer, you've thought about the process all the way up to the end. As you can see in some of, you know, my earlier videos and in my rough sketches here, you know, I know what I'm doing. I know why I'm doing it. So when I look at the logo, it makes sense to me. But when you show someone else for the first time, they're just looking at some shapes on a page, right? Which is fair enough. They're not going to get it. So a technique that I always use to help a client or anyone really understand what a logo is about and help sell it is to use logo formulas. So all these are just visual formulas just to show what goes into a logo. So here's an example of one of the logo formulas which I created for this. So here we go, really simple. So we have blocks and spaces plus build formation structure plus the letters RTS equals a letter mark. So if I put this in front of the client, they're going to immediately understand what that idea is. They're going to understand that I've taken blocks and shapes and added the idea of making, you know, of bringing them together in formations and to give them a sense of building. And I'm going to apply that to the RTS, the letter mark, which I'd like to make. And there we have a composition. So every time I present a logo, I always use formulas because it really helps make something very complex into something very simple, and it gets clients on board really quickly. So I created these quick logo formulas for each logo route, and that is what I did today. Today I completed phase 2, which was visual concept and design, where I sketched out and settled on my ideas. Now I'm confident I have these ideas in the bag. Tomorrow on day 4, I'm going to be jumping onto the computer, taking these scamps onto the computer and now starting to generate them and bring them to life. And this is kind of like the final stage in the kind of logo design process, because now I'm going to test these ideas, these sketches that I think are working on paper. I'm now going to take them onto the computer to really bring them to life and see if they actually work. Now, normally when that happens, things change a little bit and things get refined. So I've got my initial scamps. They might not look like that, they might slightly change, but this is a really good starting point for me. And this is a technique that I always use. I won't get onto the computer until I feel I have a solid logo working on paper. So that's what I did today, and tomorrow I'm going to be jumping on the computer, I'm going to be jumping into Illustrator, and I'm going to bring these to life and see which ones work the best. So if you're interested to see that, stick around and join me in that video tomorrow. If you liked what I talked about in this video and in the previous videos, you can find out more. You can get access to my design process checklist in my pro logo design course, which I released quite recently on the GDS channel. Links are in the description. If you want to check out more, go find that there. I hope this video has been helpful, and if there's anything you'd like to add or any questions you'd like to ask, please hit me up in those comments. I'll be sure to answer them. So I'll see you tomorrow in day 4, where we're going to get onto the computer and things are going to get really exciting, where we can explore color and things like that. So see you in the next video.